Hi everyone, this is Diana Palm from dianapalm.com, and tonight we have a few spooky true stories to share with you from All Hallows Eve. Happy Halloween everyone. It was about 22 years ago when I was living in a house that was extremely haunted, and I didn't know the cause of the haunting yet, but I knew that it was very, very dark and very, very negative when I first moved into the home. So upon really good advice from some friends that I have out in Sedona, they taught me how to make my first very powerful energy clearing candle, which was made of white wax with sage into the candle with holy water, salt, and a lot of other things that I used. I also used a lot of tools and techniques that I learned from the priest in Medjugorje when he first taught me how to clear negative entities, along with this very special candle that I made from scratch and the prayers and energy techniques that the priest taught me. I attempted to clear a very, very dark house of some very evil spirits. My daughter was only 3 at the time, and while she laid sound asleep, I performed the house clearing by myself in the dark with what I had. When I described this to people later on, they couldn't fathom how scary this was and how very, very creepy and dark it was. But I was so determined because my daughter was only 3 and she was seeing a lot of the spirits and entities in the home as well as I was. I was feeling them and seeing them, but my daughter at that time could see even more than I could. So as I went around the house, really determined, fiercely protective for my little girl, I wanted to make that house safe and secure. So as I walked around the house, clearing the energy, reciting the prayers, burning the sage, the candles, doing all the things that I was supposed to do, I could literally see black, dark energy blobs form on the walls, on the ceiling, especially in the stairway, moving upstairs, moving all about as I walked through, determined, centered, and on mission. I had a task to clear that house and make it safe for my daughter. I continued to go, even though it was scary, and this was my really first time removing these types of dark, dark, dark demons and entities. As I walked through the entire house, the shadows moved before me, along the walls, along the ceiling, along every part of that home, until I was through every single room, every corridor, every nook and cranny. And when I was done, all I could say is that I felt peace and I felt calm, and my daughter never reported being woken up by dark entities anymore. But years later, after we sold the home and I was doing some other business in the neighborhood, I was relaying this story to a neighbor when she actually admitted to me that her grandfather had committed suicide in that home. His spirit was there, but I feel his spirit was actually good in that he did need to be crossed over, but that he was guiding me to work with and clear these other dark energies that had tormented him when he was alive. So this house at that time was completely cleared and neutral, but it was one of the scariest encounters I ever had with the dark side. 2 summers ago, while walking through an antique store, I of course was wearing heels, and I got a really sore left knee. It came upon me all of a sudden and really fierce. It was really, really, really painful. I didn't want Bob to know that I was in pain, so I was pretending like I wasn't, and I was trying to walk normal even though it was excruciating.
All of a sudden I had a sharp pain in my knee.
And he couldn't walk, so he said something like, I know there was a few swear words in there.
Oh no, I would never do that.
And then he said, my knee hurts really bad.
And it did, and it just came out of nowhere. We had been in the antique shop for what, maybe 10 minutes?
Immediately after he said that his knee hurt really bad, I asked which knee it was, and he immediately responded, his left knee.
That's correct. Hadn't stumbled, or there was no real reason for it to be hurting, but it's just sort of a sharp pain, and it kept continued on.
It was the same exact knee that I was feeling the pain in, was my left knee, which made me aware that we actually had a ghost spirit attached to us. So when he said that his left knee hurt, my left knee hurt, it was out of nowhere and there was no reason for it. I grabbed him by the hand and we left the antique store, went out on the sidewalk. I took his hands and I cleared him off the way that I do for my clients. And what did you feel when I did that?
Well, at first I didn't know what you were doing or what you were up to, but after you went through your cleansing or clearing, the pain went away.
Like immediately, right?
I would say immediately, yes.
Yeah. And I asked him, I go, how do you feel now? And I believe you said you actually felt the energy come up through your body.
Well, I did, but I kind of lifted my foot up because the pain was, it was stark. It wasn't kind of just an aching. It was a sharp pain in the knee, and I just said, it's gone.
And mine was too. So I crossed that spirit over and got rid of it from both of us. That's what happened. It jumped onto both of us. And luckily, I actually knew what was going on. And when it happened to Bob, when it happened to both of us, I was aware that that's what was happening and was able to clear our energy and cross over that ghost.
No more pain.
So 2 summers ago, Bob and I were touring the historic courthouse in Stillwater. We had toured the old jail attached to the courthouse, and then we went through every part of the museum, which had a lot of Civil War artifacts and history on the building, the hangings, executions, and all kinds of things that were happening in and around the area. We went up to the 2nd floor, and there was a little rope over one more stairway that went up to the 3rd floor. And I guess they didn't want people to really go up there.
And that's where I come in. I said, well, it doesn't really say do not enter just because there's a rope there. Maybe it's like a gate. Let's open this up and see what we can find.
Yeah, so Bob took off the rope and proceeded to go up that stairway just to check it out and see if it was of interest.
And I did notice as I was getting towards the top of the stairway, I started to feel a little bit lightheaded, maybe a little dizzy, and then came back down and invited Di to join me.
Yeah, and he also said that you were feeling nauseous.
Well, that came a little bit later.
Okay.
But at first I felt dizziness and just thought, well, let's have Di come up here and see how she's feeling. And then she joined me.
So I went up to that part of the stairway as well. And as I got to the same point in the stairway, I felt incredible dizziness, just massive swirling around my head, a very huge pressure, even difficulty breathing. That's always when you're in the presence of a very active ghost. And so we were both feeling this within our bodies. And so we came back down the stairs to kind of like clear off our energy and get away from that.
Well, actually, we were up there. You're feeling a little bit impacted by whatever was going on, and then I said, I'm just feeling kind of nauseous. Let's get the heck out of here and go back downstairs. So then we proceeded to back down the stairs to the 2nd level of the building.
Right. And then in the corner, they have this really cute little teacup area. And I was like, oh, I used to do haunted tea parties. How fun would that be? So I was admiring the china in the cabinet when I experienced a very, very sharp and piercing pain in my gut. And I knew immediately that it was a bayonet. And we had been looking at some on the 1st floor. Pictures and soldier outfits from the Civil War and different people that had actually died that way. And immediately when I felt that, I knew intuitively, and I felt all the feelings. It was a phantom pain that the ghost was putting onto me, that I was being pierced by a bayonet. He was trying to show me how he died. So this was the spirit who was now actually showing us who was with us and how he died, and he was trying to give us his story. I immediately became aware of that and tried to clear off my energy. I felt it a 2nd time, but it was like 10% of the pain that I felt the 1st time. It was definitely still a phantom pain piercing me, and I knew it was the same bayonet, but it was really, really light compared to the 1st time. And that's when I believe we stepped back, and I was like, I said, I need to cross this ghost over because he's still here and he's still in pain. He's trying to show us how he died.
And so you cleared and everything seemed to be okay.
So it was quite an experience at the very haunted, very historic courthouse in Stillwater.
Fun afternoon.
Just another fun afternoon for us. So, Bob, what are some of the things that normally happen when we're spending time together? Like when we go and have like our picnics in the cemetery and we're visiting with your family that has passed. We usually get a lot of really beautiful signs.
Butterflies, hawks, sometimes eagles, wildlife in general, I would say.
They just come from out of nowhere and want to be a part of our picnic. I always feel that those are spirit visits, or they're sent from spirit. And it's just a way to acknowledge us and let us know that they're with us and they're very aware that we're visiting them.
One afternoon, I'll recall this one, I just recalled it. We were in Wisconsin. We were visiting a cheese factory over there. We were on kind of a afternoon road trip, just having some fun. We stopped at a remote cemetery, which had a little church alongside of it. And as we entered the cemetery, there were no other vehicles in the parking lot. We got out of the car, got our little picnic lunch, and we're enjoying that. And all of a sudden, church music began to play on the church system. There were no other vehicles there. We were the only ones there.
So Bob thinks that everywhere we show up, that just like, I don't know, the heavens just start playing music because we like music.
But even more, a little more strange to me was, okay, now the picnic's over, we're ready to leave, and we're backpacking everything in the car. We get in the car, and as we're just about to put the top back down, we put the top down, and we're leaving the parking lot, and the music stopped. Said, well, we're done for the day. See you guys later, apparently. So that was one occasion.
So that's another way that spirit can interplay with your life and just let you know that they're very aware of you and also grateful for your presence and your visits.
Exactly.
This incident happened while doing a paranormal investigation with a large group in Minnesota at a very haunted and very well-known hotel that has been in the media dozens of times for their active hauntings. While we were there that evening, not only did we have reoccurring physical phenomenon, voices, EVPs, things bouncing out of the bathroom, apparitions standing next to us in bed, we had temperature degrees raising and lowering, we had activity all night long. But one of the most frightening things that happened was the next morning. One of our team members had decided to stay in a very haunted room. It was rumored to be that of a hooker who was killed in that room, and she did not like men. Now, he wanted to stay there as a single man and see if he could experience anything supernatural. He was not really well prepared, and he came kind of tired from work, so he didn't have a lot of spiritual protection to go into that kind of an environment. So as he was trying to razz her and try to instigate and try to get some type of supernatural activity to occur so that he could experience something physical, he slept in that room alone. So this female ghost was widely known in the hotel and in all the media productions ever made about this hotel. And what all the psychic mediums that had said previous to us being there was that when they see this particular spirit, she always looks like a very decayed corpse. This is the way that she shows herself. So while the three of us were having breakfast the next morning, he came to sit with us. I took one look at his face, and I could see a decayed corpse on him, on his own face. He literally had black circles under his eyes, scabbed black lips. His face was sunken in. It was the scariest thing that I've ever seen on a human face before. I asked my girlfriend, who's a psychic medium, to take a look at him and see if she also noticed the same thing. And when she looked up from her food and saw his face, she was stunned. Yes, of course she saw the same thing. This female ghost was beginning to take over him. She was beginning to take possession of him, and she was definitely showing up as him. So we couldn't even see our friend through her corpse-like face. We immediately sent him up to the room to clear off, take a sea salt bath, and do his spiritual clearing to make sure that he left that spirit behind. So that's one of the precautions and one of the things that can happen when entering a haunted location if you're not well protected. Okay.
I don't, what?
Okay.
What am I doing?
How many years ago was this? 10 years ago?
No, it was not 10 years ago. I was like, oh, holy shit. Maybe it was 10 years ago.
I mean, approximately 10 years ago, when Loni was still a pretty young teen, we had gone as a family to a cemetery to see if we could get any EVPs or paranormal evidence from ghosts that were lurking there. We had several different digital recorders, and I put new batteries in each device, as well as in the EMF detector, the cameras, and everything that we brought with us to the cemetery. When we got out, we started to feel some spirit activity, but none of our devices work. Our camera froze up, the lens wouldn't open, the recorders wouldn't turn on. And at first I was kind of frustrated because I thought, you know, nobody else helped me with this equipment. And I know I put new batteries in here, but now it's not working. So I was kind of frustrated. I was just feeling that agitation. And then immediately realized, oh my gosh, this is exactly what happens when ghosts are draining the batteries from your equipment. So we had, out of all the devices, I think we had 10 devices, only one worked. So we gathered around the one device that worked, turned it on, and said, listen, if you drained all of our equipment so that you could use that energy to communicate, can you at least say hello? And we let the tape recorder run for about 30 seconds. And then we stopped it. We rewound the tape recorder. And then we decided this is a good time to leave. And we went to the grocery store to get food. And it was just at dusk. So as we're sitting in the parking lot of
I'm in the back seat, okay? I'm in the back seat, and you guys are in the front seat. And you're like, let's play our EVPs.
and see if we got anything.
And you did catch something.
Yeah, so as we're listening back to our recordings, we're like saying, I'm listening to my voice saying, hey, if you drained our batteries so you could communicate, at least you could come and say hello. And immediately we heard the voice, hello. And then a second one, hello. And it was so freaky, it sent goosebumps up all of our bodies. We're all freaked out.
Yeah.
And it was a Class A, perfect EVP in the most creepy voices ever. And then we're like, well, we're going to go get some dinner. Why don't you stay in the car?
Then they wanted to leave me in the car. They're like, okay, you hold down the fort. We'll be right back. And I'm like in the car with the equipment like, no. Don't do that, please. Come back.
So that was like, you've been like actually exposed to ghosts your whole life and had all these things happen. But that was the first time we actually had a voice. And it was responding
Lucky me.
in the car.
Lucky me.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna go now. Bye.
Okay. We hope you enjoyed some of these true story Halloween adventures, and I hope everybody has a wonderful, haunted, spooky Halloween tonight.